another form of propaganda that the U.S. has been spreading around is this bullshit idea about concentration camps in China with the Uyghur,
not sure how we're pronouncing it.
I'm sorry. I think that's right. Uyghur, Muslim population. And luckily we have outlets, like we've said before, like the Gray Zone, which debunk this myth, which was built on 2 studies that are not even studies.
Right.
They're not even studies. So the claim that China has detained millions of ethnic Uyghurs in China is repeated with increasing frequency, but little scrutiny is ever applied. While this extraordinary claim is treated as unassailable in the West, it is in fact based on 2 highly dubious studies.
Studies
first,
in quotes.
Yeah, in quote. Yes, in quotes. It's important to put the this in there.
Yep.
The first by the U.S. government-backed network of Chinese human rights defenders, formed its estimate by interviewing a grand total of, guess the number?
I already know.
8 people.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing?
8 people.
Can you imagine saying, yeah, I conducted a study of 8 fucking people?
Yeah, and what's more is that they basically are like, hey, have you ever been detained in this detention center? Oh, we found somebody, one of the 8 people. So let's extrapolate that number.
And who knows if they paid him or
right.
It's like
that means that X number of millions of Uyghurs are currently being detained or in re-education camps, and that's they're mass incarcerating everyone, and we determine that.
Let's multiply that.
Talk to this group of 8 people, this small family's worth of people.
Yeah.
Well, regular sized family.
I don't even know. I'm not a math surgeon, but and the second study relied on a flimsy media report and speculation. It was authored by Adrian Zenz.
This guy's great.
Oh yeah,
what a gem.
He's a treat and a half. A far right fundamentalist Christian who opposes homosexuality and gender equality, supports spanking children, and believes he is led by God on a mission against China. So, again, what a real reputable guy, and what a
certainly the guy that believes
act.
that he's on a God or divine mission, right, against
he
China.
Has no agenda.
Certainly no conflict of interest there.
Of course, and his fucking wackadoo, crazy Christian Zionist end of times shit shouldn't worry anybody.
Yeah, it's so weird.
So thanks to questionable sources like the Chinese human rights defenders, the United States government has accused China of arbitrarily detaining 800,000 to possibly 2 million Uyghurs and other Muslims in internment camps designed to erase religious and ethnic identities. Testifying before a Senate Foreign Relations Committee, State Department official Scott Bubsey stated that this is the U.S. government assessment backed by our intelligence community. The Chinese government rejected U.S. allegations and claimed that it is, in fact, establishing vocational education and training centers to prevent the breeding and spreading of terrorism and religious extremism. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has stated that there are no so-called re-education camps in Xinjiang. That's right? Say it like that.
I think
Xinjiang?
it's hard. Yeah, so it's...
I'm sorry.
Where's the spelling of it?
It's Xinigi. Xinjiang.
I don't know. I'm not great with...
I'm going to go with that, and if I'm wrong, just let me know. Jesus Christ. Okay. The vocational education and training centers legally operate in Xinjiang, aim to help a small number of people affected by terrorist and extremist ideologies and equip them with skills so they can be self-reliant and reintegrate into society. And the second key source for claims that China has detained millions of Uyghur Muslims is, like we said before, Adrian Zenz. He is a senior fellow in China Studies at the Far Right Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation, which was established in the 80s by the U.S. government. And this is, I've explained this on the show before on Hard Lens, of the Victims of Communism Group Memorial or whatever they are. They are a group of fascist Nazi sympathizers that are Nazi revisionists, and they kind of conflate, that Nazis were a lesser evil than communists, and they had to be with, Nazism was a lesser evil than communism. It's a really great group of people. They really got a good head on their shoulders, obviously. In September of 2018, Zenz wrote an article published in the Central Asian Survey Journal concluding that Xinjiang's total re-education internment figure may be estimated at just over 1 million. Like the Chinese human rights defenders, Zenz arrived at his estimate at over 1 million in a dubious manner. He based it on a singular report by Istanbul's TV, a Uyghur exile media organization based in Turkey, which was republished by Newsweek in Japan. Far from the impartial journalistic organization, Istanbul, I'm sorry, not Istanbul, Istiklal. I don't know why I said Istanbul.
Istiklal?
Where someone's going to have to...
Words and things.
Words are weird. Okay. Advances the separatist cause while playing host to an assortment of extremist figures. So that's basically where this information is coming from. It's coming from very suspect sources, to say the least.
And being extrapolated on even further.
Right.
Right. So this guy, Zenz, it's amazing. I'm just like the little tidbits in here about this guy. So Zen's work in China, inspired by his biblical worldview, as he recently explained in an interview to the Wall Street Journal, saying, I feel very clearly led by God to do this. I can put it that way. I'm not afraid to say that. With Xinjiang, things are really changed. It became like a mission or a ministry. He says, so Zen outlined these views in the book he co-authored in 2012 titled Worthy to Escape, Why All Believers Will Not Be Raptured Before the Tribulation. So he's an end times theology guy, which is a particular brand of... Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in the tome, Zenz discussed the return of Jesus Christ with the coming wrath of God and the rise of the Antichrist. Zenz predicted that the future fall of capitalism will bring to power the Antichrist within a few decades. He identified the force that will usher the Antichrist into power as the economic and financial fall of Babylon, with Babylon symbolically represented by the world global economic system, capitalism. Along with the fall of capitalism, Zenz also views postmodern relativism and tolerance thinking and their apparent promotion of homosexuality, gender equality, and nonviolent parenting to be threats to Christianity and the deceptive leopard-like power behind the Antichrist. Like, this guy is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, for real.
So that's the kind of character that I'm like, this is who CNN and the Wall Street Journal, they're basing their estimates on the Uyghur population's, imprisonment, mass imprisonment. He's the guy. He's the guy that put together the numbers for them. That and the 8 individuals who were interviewed by essentially an American think tank. So that's roughly the story that we're talking about here. This is the other thing that when I first heard it, I went, something's up with this, right? We're at a time when there were mass protests going on in Baghdad at the time, civilian protests against the government because, public services had not been reinstated, right? There was not much in the way of public internet. They didn't have electricity in a lot of places. You had mass protest movements going on elsewhere in the Middle East. You had the Yellow Vest movement is still in full swing. You've got climate. What was the Friday protest thing that was going on in full swing? And then America's got to be like, you know what we should all be mad about? We should all be mad about China because they're imprisoning people in this Western region, and you don't even know how to pronounce that people group. So you should be mad about it. You should be really, you know what? That's the thing we should all be mad about. And so I remember I expressed this to one of my siblings, and he was like, but you don't really know that that's not true. This should be something. Shouldn't this be something that we should be concerned about? Aren't we concerned about all people? And I'm like, something strike me. A red flag has gone up that this is like a distractionary tactic, particularly because it's something that is bad that is happening that isn't America's fault. Hey, everyone, be mad about this because it's definitely not our fault this time.
I mean, also we got to look at the history of it. I mean, these re-education centers have been around for years. They're just created now, but this is coming up at a time when the United States has concentration camps.
Yeah,
for real concentration camps in the United States. Children are dying. People are being raped in these concentration camps of people from Latin America fleeing U.S. imperialism. They're trying to flee from that violence to come here, but they are being captured by the fascistic border patrol and ICE and put in these concentration camps, sleep on cold concrete floors, the kids are dying of the flu, all sorts of horrific things are going on there. It's to distract. Again, the empire distracts or projects itself. Mm-hmm. So it just diverts away from its evil empire-ishness onto other places. Because if people knew what was really going on in their own borders of the empire, there would be more outrage, I would hope. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, again, they want to direct people. People have a certain level of desire to stay connected with what's going on politically, both here in the United States and in the world. And there's a certain amount of outrage meter people have. People have got so much room for outrage that, boy, we don't want people to hear things that are going to get them outraged about what the United States is doing. So the more things that we can get people outraged about that really aren't our fault, more the better, right? Because people aren't looking at America anymore. I was just saying that's the strategy, right? That's what is being hoisted on the American people.
And I'll say this: we should really emulate these what China's doing with these re-education centers. We should really have them here, especially people in our political elites and everyone else that that obviously traffics in white pathology and racism needs to go in these re-education centers, because that's the only way to rid of white pathology and racism is to unlearn it. And that's what's destroying the planet. The white pathology is the most dangerous pathology in the world. And that's what the U.S. empire is built on. It's built off of that pathology, and that's what it's doing around the world right now. So we should really emulate that. China has the right idea again.
Yep. Not doing so bad over there.
No.
Yep.
But yeah, I think.
Yeah, probably time to wrap the show. Do you have a what do you call it? A sign off? Do you have a?
No, I don't. I don't.
Solidarity.
Yeah, solidarity. And thanks for stopping by. All the little
you have a Patreon
comrades there.
Tell people about your Patreon.
I got a Patreon page. It's in the YouTube.
In the show description. Yep.
Yeah. So you guys can find it there.
I think it's very easy too. Isn't it just The Red Lettuce? Patreon.com/The Red Lettuce,
yes,
I believe.
Yes, Paul, you remember that.
Yeah,
yes.
Because websites.
Yes. You actually have a better memory than I do. Paul remembers things better than me.
That's not true, I'm sure.
But yeah, and follow the show on Twitter, Instagram.
So this has been episode 1.
This is episode 1.
The Phantom Lettuce.
The Phantom Lettuce.
We came
And
up with that
it'll
just before the show.
I know.
Just like, it was too good.
We had no like title for the show because all this shit was happening, and it was just like shit.
The Phantom Lettuce.
Phantom Lettuce sounds good
Perfect.
because it's just
That's
just
the
right.
most
It's right as
worthwhile
rain.
Star Wars film.
It's right
That's
as
the
rain.
one to watch.
Paul.
It's right
Yes.
as rain.
And then hopefully we'll have episode 2 and we'll strike back.
Yeah.
You know, the red lettuce strikes back. Okay, we gotta go.
Peace, everyone.
Peace, everyone.